So he is the winner. That's why John now wipes away his tears and begins to see that as Christ breaks each seal, a seven-step process begins again. Of 7 episodes that once again illustrate the history of the people of God. Every time a seal is opened, one happens. Then he breaks the first seal. Then John sees a night. And it's night. It has effects there. White, I didn't say it, right? White. This white knight, he had a bow and a crown, and an order was given to him to win. Then Jesus opens the second seal. Then another one appears, and that horse, another rider who was red. Then he opens the third seal again, and another black knight comes out. Then he opens it again, and a fourth knight comes out who is yellow. This yellow translation in our translation is not the best. It's a bit horrendous, right? It's pale. It's pale. It's more the color of bile, the color of death. And there are many interpretations about these 4 horsemen. Who would they be? Some think that the first white knight was the Antichrist. Others think not. Look there, the 4 horsemen. The first is the white horse, red, the black. It's cutting it a little. And the last one there, look at death. It's more gray in that color there, but it would be more of a bile color. It's that color of death, a greenish yellow. There are usually 2 interpretations, among others, which stand out the most. One of them understanding that the first horseman is the Antichrist. The second would represent wars, the third would represent chaos, hunger, and the last would be death, diseases, epidemics, and everything else. There is another interpretation that understands that the first horseman could be the gospel going to everyone, because there is nothing here that says he is an Antichrist. It's an inference, because he just says he was a white knight, that he was given a bow, a crown, and that he went out winning to win. The Antichrist does not win to win. The Antichrist was not given a crown by God. So here it is more clear that it would be the gospel being proclaimed to the world. But couldn't it be a crown given by humans? But he doesn't speak. Do not speak. Do not speak. He was given a crown. It's different from the beast. The people of the earth worshipped me. The people of the earth gave him power. It doesn't say that here. He just says he was a white knight. And when we take Matthew chapter 24, that you see Jesus talking about the things that will happen in the world before his coming. He talks about the gospel being preached to the world. Then he talks precisely about wars and rumors of wars. He talks about diseases, epidemics, and he talks about death. Jesus speaks of these 4 elements in this idea in Matthew chapter 24. So there is this interpretation. The seals would be the first 4. The interesting thing is that they seem to be judgments from God that accompany the world. It's true. Now I'm going to talk about the 6th seal, which is the most enigmatic, because it is the seal of Armageddon. No, sorry, this is about the return of Jesus. Armageddon will be the 6th plague. I'm reading verse 12. When the Lamb broke the 6th seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of horsehair. The entire moon turned red like blood. The stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its figs, green when shaken by a strong wind. The sky collapsed like a scroll being rolled up. Then all the mountains and islands were moved to their places. The kings of the earth, the great ones, the commanders, the rich, the powerful, and every slave and every free person hid themselves in the caves and in the crags of the rocks. And they said to the mountains and rocks, "Fall on us and hide them from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb." We see that again, just as happened with the first cycle of the 7 churches. Here you have it again. Another cycle of 7 that also culminates in the return of Jesus. The 7 churches culminate in Laodicea, the last stage of Christianity. The 7 seals culminate in the return of Jesus. You want to have the 6th seal, which is the return of Jesus. The 7th is the silence of heaven. Now is the solemnity, now the judgment will come. An interesting thing, when we go to Matthew chapter 24, the disciples went up with Jesus on the Mount of Olives and asked, "Lord, what sign will there be of your coming and of the end of the ages, of the end of the world?" Then Jesus tells them the things that are going to happen. Jesus says it. I'll repeat it because I've already said it here. The gospel of the kingdom will be preached to everyone and testified to all nations. It looks like a white horse. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. It really looks like the pale night. There will be wars and rumors of wars, the yellow night. Okay? Many will apostatize from the faith. Then some think, if the white horse represents the gospel, the dark one must be its opposite. And many will apostatize from the faith. And there will be epidemics in many parts. And the sun, and he talks like this, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened. The moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the firmament, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. This is in Matthew 25. I will repeat. Soon after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened. Number 1. The moon will not give its light. Number 2. The stars will fall from the firmament. Number 3. And the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then they will see the sign of the Son of Man come in heaven. And all the peoples of the earth will mourn, and will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with power and great glory. This is in Matthew 24. When we come to Revelation, what do we have? Look, when the Lamb broke the 6th seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black. Oops, the moon became like blood. The stars fell to the ground like a fig tree drops its unripe figs. And the sky rolled up like parchment. You see, it's the same parallel as Matthew 24. So these are things that are happening in the world until Jesus returns. But I want the people at home to understand, and you too, that this was written for people who didn't have the opportunity to read like you and I have. They had to memorize it. So the same story is told in cycles. He tells it until the epilogue, then comes back again, giving other details that he didn't give previously. I understood. Then, after he counts that, there is the 144,000 that you asked me about. Here comes the silence in the sky. Jesus has returned. Now is the moment of judgment. Then he goes back to square one again. That's why Revelation is confusing, because it doesn't tell a linear story from beginning to end. He counts and repeats, remembering the chiasmus, where the parts meet. Let's start the whole story again now with details I didn't give before. I want to make this very clear to you. It's like I said, look, I'm going to teach you today how you learn Hebrew. It's okay. Let's go then. First thing is to memorize the alphabet. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Ok, Vav. Then you learn the alphabet. In the next class, I speak very well. Now that you have learned the alphabet, let's recite the alphabet. And I will teach you your first words in Hebrew. Now I will teach you the first words. Then in the second class, you recite the alphabet. At first you learn the alphabet. Now you recite. And learn new words. In the third class, I'll say, now you go. I'll be right there. Where's the alphabet by heart? I want the alphabet by heart. I want the vocabulary that I taught you. And now I'm going to teach you verb. In the fourth class, now I want the alphabet by heart, the words, the verb. Let's start putting together sentences. I understood. What am I doing? Each class I repeat what I said in the previous class, but each time faster. And I'm passing by with new additions. Everything is within the alphabet, the 22 letters in Hebrew, but each time I'm learning more about that alphabet. The apocalypse is the same thing. Everything is, from now, from John's now, until the return of Jesus. And each time I give more details that I didn't give before. So we've already learned. Repeating to be clear, John was imprisoned on the island of Patmos. When he has the vision of the apocalypse, he divides the history of the Christian church through the 7 letters. Then he sees the scene in heaven, where the book of inheritance, it is given because of Christ, and again 7 periods until his return, and now silence, because the book is open with the inheritance.